What is up, Canes fans? Welcome in to this edition of the CanesInSight podcast. I am your host, Peter Ariz, alongside D-Money. D, man, you've been dropping some big news over the last week or so. Just dropped a hot new update of the bank, which if you're listening to this podcast for the first time and you have not seen it already, go on to the site. Everything we're going to be talking about now is there in writing for you to see. But D, appreciate you coming on as always. Talk to me. I know everyone's excited about this next, couple weeks with June, expecting some big movement in the class. What are you hearing?
Yeah, so go to CanesInSight.com, the forums, the front page. You got the bank I dropped right now before we recorded this on Thursday. I did the ATM over Memorial Day. So the latest there written, we'll go over it now here on the pod. So remember, CanesInSight.com forums. Go to Canes.Insight on Instagram. Remember to like and subscribe to this podcast, wherever you're listening to it or watching it. We got the merchandise.
The CanesInsight Live every Thursday night we have coming at you.
Yep, you and Brad are going to take questions and do the live stream coming up right now, but it'll be recorded so you can listen to it if you missed it. You did a great podcast with Javi Salas, Mr. Perfect himself, former Canes great, who broke down the Canes baseball as we get ready for regionals. You can get that on YouTube and all podcast platforms and on the website. So just a ton of stuff out there. And again, the merchandise, we got the link in the bio here. You can get it on the website, Shopify, just all kinds of great merchandise from CanesInsight. So with those plugs out of the way, we'll go position by position and let you know where we're at recruiting-wise as we head into the biggest weekend or month of really the Cristobal era. And I'm not going to get into every single player that we're recruiting. You can look at the names that are visiting. I just want to kind of bring you to date on some names where there might be some new information that I could give you guys. So with that, Pete, give me the names and or the positions, and we'll roll right through it. By the way, I got kids rolling all over this house right now. I got my own kids. I got cousins. I feel like Nick Cannon right now. So if you hear kids screaming, hear doors opening and shutting, I apologize. It's crazy, but I wanted to give you this stuff while it was still fresh.
So right off the bat, the first name you see there is Colin Hurley, who's an LSU commit. Obviously, we know that Judd Anderson, who's been on the CanesInsight podcast, has been the quarterback committed in the class. But you've been from the beginning saying don't be surprised to see another quarterback end up in this class. And is Hurley going to end up being that guy?
It could be a transfer also. But look, Miami loves Judd Anderson. He'll be on campus next week, I believe, working out in one of these camps that Miami's putting on. So they'll see him live and up close. I heard Dawson liked him when he saw him in person. So Miami loves Judd Anderson. Hopefully he's not going anywhere. But Miami will look at other quarterback options. One name to watch, Colin Hurley from LSU. Guy's been on the radar since his freshman year, really since his 8th grade year. Reclassified, LSU commit, but guy who – Peter, I know you have some family ties with. Guy who grew up a Hurricane fan, really poised young man, a lot of talent, and produced very, very early in his career at a big-time program up in Jacksonville. So somebody for Canes fans to keep an eye on. Committed to LSU, but I think Miami is alive in that recruitment, and that's a recruitment I'd keep my eye on.
Couple defensive linemen visiting in the next week, Wyatt Gilmore and T.A. Cunningham, who obviously just recently transferred down to Central. What are you hearing on those guys?
Yeah, Wyatt Gilmore, somebody I've been mentioning in the bank for months. He's someone Miami really, really likes out of Minneapolis. He got a comp on 247 to Trey Hendrickson. I can see that comp. This guy plays offense. He plays basketball. He's very productive. A high motor guy, but also highly athletic guy. He's someone Miami loves. He'll be on campus this weekend, and I could see Miami pushing hard for a commitment there. They want him really bad. T.A. Cunningham, a big name since his sophomore year. Guy's well-traveled, been to Georgia, California, now Miami Central. He's not doing any official visit next week, but I heard he will be working out on campus, so Miami will get a good look at him and be able to evaluate him. Been hard to get an eyeball on him because he's been around so many different places. You can't really know what you're looking at. He's someone Miami's offered, Miami likes, but they really want to see him up close, and so you can see that recruitment potentially pick up once they've laid eyes on him. But going position by position, running back I want to get to. Kewan Lacey out of Texas was going to visit this weekend. That visit's been canceled. Sort of a mutual decision. Miami's really putting the heat on Kevin Riley, a running back out of Tuscaloosa. that would be a name I would keep an eye on. Jarrett Gibson from IMG is still in the mix. Tim Harris, a big fan of his game. Obviously, a highly recruited kid. But the name I'd ask Canes fans to watch, Kevin Riley out of Tuscaloosa. Alabama likes him, so it's always tough to get a Tuscaloosa kid. But this is someone who's shown a lot of interest, and Miami really loves what he can do.
I know there was a JoJo Trader crystal ball to Florida State that had people worried about or asking about in terms of Miami's recruitment of him. What do you know about that?
Miami did some digging there. Not much there to be concerned about. FSU writer just trying to get some traffic. Not to say FSU's not recruiting JoJo Trader and he hasn't shown interest in them. He has. But that one's still a live recruitment. Miami wants him. Every time I post the bank, people ask questions about Trader. Miami wants him. They're going to be in that mix until the very end. And I wouldn't be alarmed with anything that's happening with him. I think with every receiver, Miami needs to just play better on the field. Two very big ones on campus this weekend on officials. Draylon Miller out of Port Arthur, Texas, home of the greatest rap duo of all time, UGK. He's someone Miami absolutely loves. Probably on the outside looking in when it comes to Miller right now, but he's here. So a great visit could rocket them to the top of the list. Miami really, really likes what he does. He's a high priority kind of kid. Tank Hawkins out of IMG, speedster, one of the fastest players in the country. Jalen Waddle comps, originally from West Virginia. Miami's been in great communication with him. His visit will go a long way. He's been here unofficially. Again, IMG just a short drive away. So those two guys are big name targets, and Miami's going to really put a lot of effort into moving with those guys.
Amir Jackson at tight end looks like a very intriguing athlete. Worked out today on campus as you reported in the bank, and it looks like an old school Miami, Florida battle there. First of all, as a player, what would he bring to the table? And second of all, how does Miami look there?
Big time basketball player, which I love. Big time athlete, flex tight end. Him and Caleb Odom are very similar, both from Georgia. And Caleb Odom already was at the top of Miami's board and someone who has a lot of interest in Miami as well. Amir Jackson, after working out here, as I record this today, it's Thursday. You'll hear it on Friday. But he had an awesome workout in front of our coaches on an unofficial. He'll be back on an official. Miami really likes what he's doing. Gator Miami battle. They're pushing for him, and they really, really like what he can do. And they might take him and Odom, or him or Odom. They're not going to stop recruiting him because they're doing good with Odom. That's a guy that has confirmed with his play on the field that he's an athlete that they really, really want. So keep an eye on him as a potential priority target in this class.
At offensive line, we always know that this is going to be a priority every year, no matter what they did the previous year in the previous recruiting cycle. Any new names emerging there?
Yeah, I would look at, as far as names that don't get talked about, I'd look at Eddie Turk, Tuerk, out of Chicago. There's a guy who has P5 offers as defensive tackle. Miami loves his athleticism. He'll be coming down to visit, and this is someone whose ranking does not reflect where he is on Miami's board. Mirabal really, really likes this guy. Again, athleticism. He's a defensive guy who has the ability to play offense as well. Miami would recruit him as an offensive player. Really like him as a potential target. He's someone, again, they're very high on, and he will be visiting, and he's showing a lot of interest coming out of Chicago. I've always said with offensive linemen, go to the big cities because those are the guys that are going to have more interest in Miami. Don't go to the farms. Those guys are going to go to SEC or Big 12 or Big 10. Go to the big cities, and that's what they're doing with guys like Eddie Turk. Saw Samson Okunlola last year up in New England. That's what you need to do, in my opinion. Another guy, Jordan Seaton, originally from Washington, D.C. He's someone Miami really, really likes. Highly rated guy, just moved to IMG. Miami's going to have a chance with any IMG guy. So that's someone I think Miami, him transferring has given Miami some more life in that recruitment, and he's someone that Miami will recruit hard. Another name, Zuri Madison out of Lexington, Kentucky. Maybe he's the kind of guy that goes to SEC, who knows? But he's someone that Miami on tape really, really values. Maybe not the best body guy walking around, but when you put the tape on, he's one of the highest guys on their board just from a performance standpoint. So all those guys are names to watch at the offensive line position.
So we already spoke about the defensive linemen. I don't know if there's anyone else you wanted to add there, but if not, we'll jump to linebacker. James Nesta from Charlotte. Seems like there's some mutual interest there, according to what you said.
Yeah, James Nesta visiting this weekend. Not the most highly rated guy, but again, somebody that Miami has very, very high on their board, above other guys that might have a bigger rating. Watch the film. The guy's a very productive player, very smart player, very tough player, and athletic. A lot more people are going to dismiss the athleticism because he's a white linebacker. I think Miami fans, more than any program, should know that's a mistake. So he's someone that he's visiting this weekend for a reason. It's because Miami values him highly and would like to add him to this linebacker class.
A bunch of names that you mentioned here at corner and defensive back. So if you want to just get into some of the important ones, go for it.
Yeah. So corner is a wide open board. A lot of names in the mix. The name that is probably the most known to Canes fans is Jalen Howard out of Rockledge. He's listed as a safety, I think, on 247. For Miami purposes, look at him as a corner. He's got some blazing track times. I think he's 10.6 in the 100. So Miami likes him at corner, and he's in the mix. Ricky Knight, they're still in communication with him, but there's a lot of other names. People ask me about Jamari Howard a lot because I believe he's ranked the number 76 player in the country on the composite. Very long, athletic corner, originally from Westland Hialeah. I think he's Bahamian maybe originally. I don't think he's from this country. And then it's Miami Central. The problem with him is he doesn't have much film. You don't have a lot to eval him on. I think he ran track this spring. Didn't really see him on the field a lot. So now he's at Central. Miami wants to get eyes on him in that environment. But that's someone, again, like Cunningham, where, yeah, he's highly rated. Yes, he has physical tools. But I think the more they get eyes on him and the more he, is communicating with us and getting recruited by us, that will progress as it progresses, and we'll see where that goes. But as far as guys that I think Miami fans should know at corner, Dakota Fields, blazing fast corner out of Junipero Serra, out there on the West Coast. He's got a lot of talent, highly recruited kid. He's going to be visiting in June. He's a name to keep an eye on. And a guy that I think Canes fans wouldn't recognize, but that was given to me as an athlete that Miami likes a lot. His name is Jameel Watkins out of Ocala Vanguard. If that school sounds familiar, it's where Nkosi Perry went to high school. Watch that tape. Store that name away. He's someone to watch. Miami's corner board is wide open. They want athletes. They want studs, and they're going to take the best guys. And it may be, new names emerging. I don't think that's the board that I think is the most subject to change as we go through this process. They are evaluating like crazy and working really hard. One name I want to mention at corner who could play this year, meaning 2023, is Demetrius Freeney. He's a JUCO kid. He's visited a bunch of other schools. Miami's come in and now has him on campus this weekend. I think he just landed here on Thursday. He's someone that Coach Adai has a relationship with his coach. Cristobal also has a relationship with his coach. JUCO kid, but didn't go to JUCO because of grades. He's somebody that had grades out of high school, just went to JUCO to develop, similar to an Aaron Rodgers or a Josh Allen. He was a quarterback in high school, had offers, lower-level offers at quarterback, made the switch to cornerback in JUCO. 6'1", I believe is a 10,900 meter, according to Miami's database. So that's somebody that can run. 6'1", again, 185-ish, big kid, great attitude from what I understand. Again, former quarterback, those guys usually have high IQ. He's a little bit raw in terms of being a JUCO prospect, but he has multiple years to play. He doesn't have to play right away. So he's someone that if he needs time, he has time, and he will be more like a replacement for a Cormani or an Antoine Jackson or the two guys that transferred out, Kamari Rogers, or I guess the one guy that transferred out, Kamari Rogers from 2022. He's more of a replacement for those guys as opposed to like, hey, we need this guy to start right away kind of thing. And I should mention Terry Roberts was just reported the Iowa transfer ended up going back in the portal. I think the story there is, Miami would have loved to have him as a special teams guy and depth at corner, but he was here in spring and didn't stand out on the defensive side of the ball. That's why Miami's hitting corner so hard, recruiting guys like Freeney. And then, of course, Jadis Richards, Jaden Davis, and the other cornerbacks that Miami's added to that room to compete, Devontae Brown. So Corner is it's been the hottest position in the portal. Recruiting is going to be the most active position going forward because there's a lot of names there.
D, real quick before I let you go, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps it up in terms of the recruiting news, but you had a few updates on guys who are either coming on campus now or have been there. What do you have to give us there?
So everybody that signed is here on campus except for Frankie Tinalau, who he'll be here next semester. He just has some he came from a different country. So there's some things that had to work out. They will be worked out. He'll be here next semester and he'll be here in camp. But as far as like right now, everybody's here. And some names that stood out. First of all, I heard that Tyler Harrell and Chris Johnson. I asked about him. He said that the guy I talked to said they look like Olympians. That's how fast those guys are. And remember, Cristobal's been at Alabama. He's been at Oregon. Adai's been at Georgia. We've had coaches that have been around and been at very big programs. And apparently these are some of the fastest players, maybe the fastest players that these guys have ever seen. It's that kind of speed.
Oh, the numbers back it up for both of them.
Right. So, again, it's hyperbole, but these guys have seen a lot. And like you said, the numbers back it up. And they're saying these guys are as fast as they've seen.
There's verified numbers on both of them that are, what you're talking about. So,
I mean, Chris Johnson is faster than the other Chris Johnson in high school. So, if you look at like you said, the verified numbers, look at Chris Johnson, CJ2K had great verified numbers. This Chris Johnson has better verified numbers coming out. So it's not just hype. There's numbers to back it up, but it's translating to workouts at least. We'll see how it translates on the field when they start practicing in pads. Some names that were mentioned to me. We know guys like Francis Mauigoa, Sampson, Ray Joseph, who we saw in spring, Ruben Bain. Some names that are guys that are here now. And again, these are not padded practices. This is just workouts. But a lot of times these first impressions can mean a lot. Names that were mentioned to me. Number one, Mark Fletcher. You've seen pics of him on campus. The guy's huge. He's really leaned out. He's working hard and just attitude of somebody who's coming to take somebody's job and wants to start as a freshman at some point. Will he? Who knows? We thought Trayvonte Citizen had a chance. He got hurt. But Fletcher is really impressing early on, just physically and attitude-wise. Tommy Kinsler. What I was told about him, and there's pictures of him standing next to Sampson and Francis Mauigoa from last year when they came on a visit. He's bigger than those guys. And now that he's here, he's still bigger than those guys. He's slimmed down to 340. Maybe they're getting down to 325, but this guy's huge. And they put him on the field to have him run, and he's outrunning guys. He runs like he's 240. I heard his athleticism is just off the charts. So watch him as a guy with just incredible upside. Even
could he be like the Inez Cooper sort of guy from last year?
Yeah, he could. More athletic. And Cooper's athletic, but this guy's like super athletic. Just a freak of nature. And he's being compared to guys like Sampson and Francis who are 5-stars. So
well, but that has to be a good sign for when you're looking at these guys that they're bringing in now, and people are saying, well, they aren't the highest rated guys. Well, they have the traits that this staff is looking for.
Exactly. And you put them next to 5-stars, and not only do they not look out of place, in some respects, they have physical advantages. Now, we saw Francis and Sampson in pads, and I know they're the real deal. We haven't seen Kinsler in pads, and he's based on his film, he has some work to do as far as just getting strong, more physical and things like that. But in terms of the tools, he's as advertised and more. One more name that might surprise people. Marcelius Pulliam, linebacker, added Sandy Creek, Georgia. I'm told he's 6'3", 230, looks like $1 million, and he's outrunning linebackers at Miami that are known for their speed. Some guys that have been here that you say these are our fast linebackers, Pulliam's outrunning him. And one thing about Pulliam, his midseason senior highlight, I posted it. Some people were underwhelmed. I went back and posted the highlights from the second half of his seasons in states, and he was unreal. I asked, why was that? He was hurt. He played through injury the first half of the year. Second half of the year, he was healthy. And just I made a post on the board. You could find it. Just search Pulliam. He was unreal the second half of the year, and he's carried that momentum on. Again, no pads, none of that. This is just workouts, but a big, fast, and talented, instinctual.
Listen, I remember another guy from Georgia, Eddie Johnson, who came out of nowhere, who had all the physical traits in the world, and he came on the scene right away and made an impact. Obviously, hopefully, Marcelius' career lasts longer than Eddie Johnson's at Miami, but who knows?
Yeah, look, I heard he's a great kid. I don't think he has skeletons. Eddie Johnson, I remember watching his film, like this guy must be
There had to have been a reason why
there had to be a reason why I've never heard of this guy. Obviously there was. Pulliam, though, I heard great kid, and the physical tools are there. We'll see. These are workouts. You don't want to get too ahead of yourselves, but always good to make a nice first impression.
D, just wrapping things up here as I got to get to this live as we finish recording this. Again, like you said, everyone go check out that Javi Salas podcast, breaking down not only the regional, right? We get into the regional, but the Canes season as a whole, and looking ahead a bit. Obviously, that podcast was brought to you guys by Salah, Astorita, and Cox. So, go check that one out. I think anyone looking for baseball content will appreciate that. Javi's perspective, obviously, is he not only played and pitched at Miami, but has been an analyst, for ACC Network and for the Canes as well. So everyone go and check that one out.
And like and subscribe to this podcast, Canes.Insight Instagram. Check out Peter's live that he's about to do. It'll be replayed on YouTube. Check out the merchandise. The link is in the bio. And Underdog Sports, promo code CIS. You get $100 to play. NBA playoffs, all kinds of bets you can lay down. Underdog Sports, promo code CIS. Get $100 free to play. So with that, I'll let you get to your live, Peter. That's the bank. CanesInsight.com forums. We got it all written out, and people are going crazy over it. It's going to be a hot summer, hot June. Stay tuned.
Go Canes.